So the world has just shifted on its axis. All the things that we thought we understood get thrown out, and you dramatically alter your forecasts for the American economy, right?
Well, I wish I knew how to alter them, Jeff. That's the real challenge. Nobody really knows what happens next. And we all heard Mr. Trump's speech last night, President-elect Trump's speech last night, and that was certainly trying to be inclusive. But there are so many things that were promised during the campaign that are just going to be hard to put into reality as spoken, that we really don't know how to forecast what's going to happen in the medium term. I guess there are tax cuts coming. We're expecting they won't come until the second, third quarter of the new year at least. And between now and then, things will be as they were. So the very, very near term is pretty clear. The Fed's probably going to hike rates as they intended to in December. But even they don't really know what to do next until fiscal policy and trade policy and other things are defined. And we just don't know.
Let's just deal with that Fed hike. You think that Fed hike will come in spite of the uncertainty that currently exists around what a Donald Trump presidency could look like? You don't think there is a good reason here for Janet Yellen to sit on her hands and wait until we actually have Trump in office?
No, I think there are two perspectives on that. The first is, if you listen to Stanley Fischer when he spoke to the New York Economic Club just 2 weeks ago, he pointed out that with the unemployment rate around 5% and falling, and with growth around 2%, that the Fed has pretty much achieved its objectives. We're there, he said, so that regardless of what happens next, there's no real cause for keeping ultra-accommodative monetary conditions in place, and that's got to be the Fed's starting position. Secondly, they're not going to guess at what fiscal policy is going to be. But if they were to guess as they filled out their dot plots, they would certainly see tax cuts and reflationary fiscal policy coming down the road in some form to some extent, and that only takes the issues that they're concerned about, an overheating labor market leading to inflation, and makes them more real, more of a concern. So I think that to the extent that they do guess what's going to happen in fiscal policy, it'll encourage them to tighten even more. And to the extent that they don't guess, we're certainly going to at least get one more rate hike in there, possibly more, just on the basis of where we are.
Carl, investors like certainty, and even yesterday when you saw stocks starting to rebuild, there was a sense that the markets could seize on the fact that there was a tax policy, a Republican-leaning tax policy that investors knew how to deal with, as well as an inclusive speech by Trump. When it comes to the Fed and the future, there are now question marks, many feel, around Janet Yellen and whether she stays in this role, given all the negative comments Trump has made about her and being at the behest of the Obama administration. That's some of the initial claims. If there is a change at the helm, how negative would that be for investors?
Well, I think, first of all, only Janet Yellen knows what Janet Yellen is thinking right now. The decision to leave would probably be hers, to be voluntary. My guess would be that she probably wants to defend the separation of the Fed from politics and weather the storm in office at least through the end of her term. So I don't see her resigning, and I don't see the president forcing her out. I think an incoming president forcing out a sitting Fed chairman would optically be a very, very negative thing for financial markets. And I think if the new president does take advice, he'll probably be discouraged from trying to force her out the door.